Henshin!
Standing by. Complete.
Greetings, heroes of the internet. I'm Travis.
And I'm Nathan.
And we are the Henshin Men, a podcast that celebrates Japanese superheroes and their high-flying and high-kicking adventures.
In this installment, we will be discussing Kamen Rider episodes 3 and 4. Episode 3, Monster Scorpion Man, Kaijin Sasori Otoko. The Shocker organization seeks to draw Kamen Rider out by letting a prisoner escape. Our hero must then save the captured Ruriko from the deadly stingers of the Scorpion Man and his pet scorpions.
So, Nathan, man-eating spiders, or man-eating scorpions.
Oh, that was terrifying.
Terrifying, but let me ask you, do they actually eat?
Yeah, they don't. They say they're man-eating, but they don't eat people.
They just kind of spray red goo in their face and then people dissolve away.
Okay, we need to talk about this.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we talked about the dissolving effect in the first episode, and at least in that case, they were using foam. All right?
Mm-hmm.
I can believe that. You know, it's an interesting effect. It's soap foam. You can pass it off as, you know, a body dissolving and all of that. Oh my gosh, this one.
It is
It wrecked me. I actually messaged you and I just said, I can't stop laughing at this. I'm not kidding you. I had to pause the episode and laugh for about a minute straight. It was so goofy.
Yeah. This was kind of, I mean, they just kind of turn into spaghetti and they get sucked away. What?
Not even spaghetti. It looks like a necklace.
Yeah, it looks like Bruce Wayne's mom's pearls that always get broken every time she gets killed.
It just looks like a necklace that they unhooked, laid down in a random pattern, and then somebody would just hold it off camera and would just yank it, just pull it, and just let it, straighten out as they yanked it away, and then they passed this off as a dissolving. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. So that happens a few times in this. Something I want to talk about. I said I wanted to talk about it in the last episode, but we didn't talk about it in the last episode. I want to talk about Tobayashi. Is that it? Yeah, Tachibana, the mentor character.
Tachibana.
This character, I love a good mentor character. Like the idea, but like Zordon or Yoda or Mr. Miyagi. I love a good mentor character, and my goodness, how I love this actor. Akiji Kobayashi is his name. And anybody who has watched Ultraman would recognize him as the captain on the original Ultraman. Mm-hmm. And anyone who's watched the Heisei Godzilla would recognize him because he's in a couple of Heisei Godzilla films.
Dudes everywhere.
Yeah. So, what do you think of Toby? Why am I struggling with his name? Tachibana. I keep wanting because the actor's name is Akiji Kobayashi. So I keep wanting to merge the two names together. So what do you think of Tobe Tachibana?
Every good hero needs to have a good mentor. It's the hero's journey. You know, you got to have an Obi-Wan for the Luke, you know? And I like what this guy does. He's helping to keep Hongo a little bit grounded, although he seems to help him out a little bit more on the rider side, you know, as a motorcycle rider,
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit less on the superhero stuff, at least at the moment, but he does get himself involved in that as well.
Yeah, so because I'm familiar with the franchise, and I know where it goes from here, Tobe Tachibana, that character, does continue on even after this original series ends. He pops up and plays a part in later Kamen Rider series. He is a mainstay of the franchise.
Yes. That's good to hear, actually. So does he help other writers, or, you know, is he just go on and play other characters?
No, he helps other writers. He shows up and helps. I think actually he helps pretty much all of the first 7 writers, or like the first original 7 Kamen Riders. He is a part, plays a part in, and they do reference him in other series. Even after Akichi Kobayashi dies, they reference that character in future series. So like they really show how important he is to the Kamen Rider like lore and history and stuff as time goes on. But yeah, here in this series, he is just a mentor, and also kind of he was Hongo's coach when Hongo is, as a motorcycle racer.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also Hongo's friend, and also his kind of like father figure, because Hongo's parents died when he was young. And so Tachibana takes over kind of raising him. So he's a very important character. And I just wanted to kind of touch on him and get kind of your feelings on him, because he is going to stick around for a while.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely need to have someone like this. I kind of wish at this point that Hongo would open up to him a little bit more about the struggles that he's having as a superhero at this point, and it doesn't seem like he's quite doing that. And I think it would be very beneficial to Hongo, but that's why character development is a thing.
Yeah. There are some moments in this episode where the camera flips completely over upside down in the middle of the action scenes, and I am hurting my neck trying to turn my head to figure out what's going on. I mean, as much as I love the show, that is some awful filmmaking.
They were I get the feeling they were trying to find their style, and they decided, let's experiment a little bit. How about we turn the camera upside down when KR decides to start fighting the Shocker Goons? This will be great. And it's just like, what are you doing? I think you're avant-garde cinema or something.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's
it
was something.
I know people complain about shaky cam in modern action movies, but what was that?
Yeah, this isn't shaky cam. This is flip around upside down cam.
Yeah, that was in the running for. I'm actually double checking to say no. Did I name that as my WTH? No, it was not my WTH, but it was in the running. Let me tell you.
yeah, that's up there for me too. What other things did you find interesting in this episode?
He finally says rider kick.
Yes, rider kick.
We had to wait 3 episodes, but he finally says rider kick.
I mean, 3 episodes in a 98 episode long series. Like,
Yeah, I know. It's just, again, when you have some knowledge already of what the tropes are, and you
Yeah.
have to wait for it to show up,
Right. It's like, yeah,
it's
in
kind of like
hindsight, we're looking at it like, oh, well, we know what the tropes are, we know what the things are, so say the thing, say the catchphrase. But it's like, well, that's it's only a catchphrase because at a certain point they started saying it every episode. That doesn't mean they started it in the first episode.
yeah, yeah, that's something you do have to remember, and and every show has growing pains in its early episodes. I mean, trust me, as someone who's been going through and watching Power Rangers, let me tell you, some of those first few episodes of Power Rangers are pretty rough. There's some questionable fight choreography there because it's just like, who thought this was a good idea? And and this show has had some moments like that as well. But I've already been noticing, going through this, that it started to improve already.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think that again, when you're watching this, like I said, for the first episode, the yes, you're going to see the seams, you're going to see the low budget, but if you ignore the low budget stuff and pay attention to the story and the characters and stuff like that, you can really, it's definitely growing and improving and doing so much better. And yeah, this the effects are going to improve as time goes on too. But like that's my thing, especially being a fan of old giant monster movies, where you can see the strings holding up the monster. That it's like
oftentimes, yeah.
If the story and the movie or the show, if I can get absorbed into the story, then the effects don't matter. I'm just enjoying the ride. And that's kind of how I feel with Kamen Rider. I'm just along for the ride with the Kamen Rider.
Oh, where's my where did I put that? Wait, nope. You can cut this. Yeah, there you go. I forgot I actually had them set that sound bake on here, but yes. But here's something I want to ask you. This I started appreciating it by the time I got to this episode, and that's the commercial break cards that they have. Is that the actual manga art that they're using?
It's not manga art, but it is art done by the manga artist. It was art that was done specifically for the show, though, because it's in color, so that's how you can tell. Because manga's not in color.
Okay.
But yeah,
because it looked pretty. It looked pretty.
Yeah, Shotaro Ishinomori did the title card breaks for the commercial breaks and stuff. So that is artwork that he did, and it looks fantastic because he has a very unique style to his artwork, and you can definitely pick out his art style when you see it.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about our titular monster of the week in this episode, the Scorpion Man, which again, I'm noticing a pattern here. It's always Animal Man. With this, it's reminding me of Mega Man. But so this begins a thing that happens in a couple of episodes now, where we are introduced to a longtime friend of Hongo's who, spoiler warning, ends up working for Shocker. What a twist! And in this case, his friend / rival Hayase is the Scorpion Man.
Yeah, so that is a big deal in this because Goro Hayase is one of they say it in the episode that he is a longtime friend of Takeshi's. He's a rival when it comes to racing, but he's never been able to beat Takeshi, and so he's been training to try to beat Takeshi at racing, and he went abroad to try to get better at racing. And then we find out that in the process of going abroad, he also joined Shocker of his own free will. He was not kidnapped, according to him, and transformed into the Scorpion Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a big twist. But has no long-term effects on the show.
I knew it. Unfortunate. I'm just Okay. That was the thing. That's how television was at the time. We're a little too used to serialized storytelling, and there's some serialized storytelling in this, but this was at a time when television was every episode was one and done, and then you move on.
Right.
It was episodic. That's just how things worked. If anything was serialized, it was a little revolutionary at the time.
Yeah.
But like I said, we do have some serialization going on here, but yeah, this has no long-term effects. We were just introduced to this guy in this episode just to make him the villain. And then we kill him and we're done.
Yeah. I will say though, spoiler alert, he does come back.
Ooh.
Again, not so I'll just say that. So look forward to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will say again, there's some funny little quirks that all of these Shocker goons have, and we mentioned before, one of them is their creepy giggling, and now in this one, maybe this is probably more distinct to the Scorpion Man, but he apparently likes doing funny little interpretive dances while walking around in the shadows, stalking people.
Yeah,
I just thought it was
waving the hands around and doing a whole bunch of little motions and everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even KR is starting to develop his own little thing now. He's starting to do poses now, and one of them looks suspiciously like a dab.
That is his most famous one. That is his most famous Kamen Rider pose, which is the sticking the arm straight out, or kind of like side, like in a almost like a dab. And it's I'm so glad to see that, because that is his most iconic pose, is the Kamen Rider. That's the Kamen Rider pose. If you see statues of Kamen Rider, if you see images of Kamen Rider, he is usually doing that pose.
Yeah, so that's one of his poses, just like Ultraman has the cross thing with his arms when he does the Specium beam, or holding fist up because it's after he transforms or something like that. So that's just thing. But I think we can now establish it here on Henshin Men. Kamen Rider invented the dab. Let's just get this out there right now.
Yep. Kamen Rider invented the dab.
Yeah, but there is something that gets established in this that comes back later, and it's a little bit shocking. No pun intended, but I'll do that anyway. That is, Shocker is connected to the Nazis.
Yep. We'll talk about that in our next episode of the podcast, because
we will have to.
That plays a bigger part in the next episode. But yes, the Shocker is connected to the Nazis, and oh boy, we talked about in the last episode things that would not make it onto American children's programs. Direct connections to Nazis probably wouldn't make it onto an American kids show.
Probably not. I mean, with the Red Skull, who's very much a Nazi, they actually, when he,
that's true.
Even in the MCU, they basically, they really toned down his connections to Nazis, and he was just Hydra at that point. So,
right,
they're hesitant to start getting into that, and I could understand. And then a couple of comments that I want to throw on here. Again, continuing the comic book parallels. At this point, the show is kind of operating on this might be your first episode sort of a thing. This might be your first issue of the comic book. So here's a little exposition dump to get you caught up.
Well, remember that this is 1971. And in the 1970s, they did not have reruns of shows. And so, you didn't, if you missed the first episode or missed the first two episodes, you're not going to catch them, when they come back around and replay them. No. So if you are watching this and you missed the last episode, you need a catch up on what's going on.
Yeah, again, it's a convention of the time. Yeah. And again, very comic book. And one other thing that I'm just going to point out, because it's something I've been noticing with these first few episodes. How do people keep not seeing the gigantic animals that are being used to track people? I feel like in the first episode, like the giant, I call it the spider tracer because that's a Spider-Man thing.
Right, yeah.
A Marvel Spider-Man thing. And I'm just like, how do you not see the spider the size of a dinner plate on the back windshield of your car? Okay.
Yeah.
And they did that again with the giant scorpions that are crawling around on the ceiling. It's like, how does nobody see that for 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Until the moment of drama. I mean,
right.
Until the plot demands it.
I will say, though, in this episode, we did get a return of some of your favorite characters, the Fishnet Squad.
Yeah, the Fishnet Squad. The Fishnet Squad came back, although unfortunately they seem to vanish after this. And I'm like, why? Where's the Fishnet Squad?
Yeah.
I have so many questions about the Fishnet Squad.
Well, they actually do stuff in this episode because they actually do something to try to capture or kill Hongo. So it's like, oh, they actually did something and now they're gone.
Yep. But I think that's a good place where we can move in to the next episode where the Nazis start becoming more prominent.
Yeah.
Episode 4, Man-Eating Sarracenian. Hitokui Sarracenian. Takeshi comes to the aid of a young boy whose sister is kidnapped by a human plant while at the botanical gardens. But will Kamen Rider make it in time to rescue the girl from the clutches of Shocker?
We are finally introduced to the Kamen Rider equivalent to Kenny.
Really?
Anybody who doesn't know Gamera, the Gamera series, Kenny is a name that we like to use for fans of Gamera and Giant Monsters for kids who are either terrible actors or just annoying characters. And
yeah, it all got started because the dub for there's an infamous dub of the original Gamera movie where they changed some of the characters' names, and one of them there was a little kid and his name was changed to Kenny, and then it was popularized by MST3K because they covered a bunch of Gamera movies and they kept calling every single kid Kenny.
Yeah. What did you think of the kid? Let's just get that out of the way. What did you think of the kid?
Oh, this kid. Yeah. Oh, that kid's not getting an Oscar anytime soon.
No, he's not.
His acting is terrible, especially when they're trying to get him to cry, and it's the fakest crying I have ever seen. My gosh, I showed you the War in Space, and there's a crying scene in that is done by an adult that is still better, and it's still kind of silly, but at least in War in Space, it's benefited by the fact that it's so earnest, and this is just what?
Yeah.
And then they're trying so hard to pour on the pity on this kid because they're like, oh, where's his dad? His dad is dead. What about his mother? His mother is dead. Okay. So all he has is his big sister.
And she's just been kidnapped by a giant plant man. Or not giant, but just a big plant man.
Pitcher plant man.
Yeah. So this monster in this one is an improvement over the last ones.
Actually, yeah, the suit for this guy actually looks pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it is good. I do like the pitcher plant. The one thing that gets me about the pitcher plant man is he doesn't talk like the other ones. Like he doesn't, like the other ones spoke and actually like said evil dialogue, but he doesn't speak. He just makes noise.
Which is actually a little bit creepier.
This is a very interesting episode because this is the first time in the series. I mean, we're only 4 episodes into the series, but this is the first time that a character from the show refers to Takeshi as Kamen Rider. Because up to this point, the only person who has actually used the words Kamen Rider was the narrator. But this is the first time in universe, that's not narration for the show, that he is actually called Kamen Rider. And I think that is really neat, because then you actually get his official name, Kamen Rider.
Which, for those who don't know, Kamen actually means masked. Hence why when we had the show in the 90s, the Saban series, it was called Masked Rider. Also, I'm guessing that means what you're saying is these characters read the script. That's
yeah. But it is kind of weird that like all of the other shocker villains that he fights, all the main villains that he fights are like Animal Man, something man, but yet he goes by Kamen Rider, not Bug Rider or Bug Man or Grasshopper Man.
Grasshopper Man. Which I'm totally fine with, because Kamen Rider sounds a heck of a lot cooler. Heck, even Masked Rider sounds better. So
yeah, it definitely does. And it also harkens back to what essentially, is the original tokusatsu show, Henshin Hero show, which is Moon Mask, which is a really old show that appeared in Japan, or I think it was a serialized show, in Japan, black and white, and it is hugely popular and had a big influence on Japanese pop culture. And they've remade it a few times in anime form and in live action form, but that was one of the original ones. And they use the word common in that because of mask, for Moon Mask. And so putting Masked Rider in the title, it kind of harkens back to that very popular classic tokusatsu show that was already like probably about 20 years old by the time this show came out.
Yeah. About 15 or so years old at that point. Yeah, at least. And this is also a point where we're starting to see some of the tropes of this show, to a certain extent, tropes of tokusatsu's heroes in general. And this franchise is starting to come together in this. One, I noticed that they stopped recapping things with a narration during the episode. Now they put it during the theme song. That gives you this quick little exposition dump so that you know what you're getting into when you start, which is nice. Comic books kind of do that. Marvel was very good about doing that in a lot of their newer stuff the last 15 years or so, where they would put a little recap on the first page to get you up to speed, and then you would go into the story. So that was nice. But I'm also starting to notice some things like there are a lot of fights in quarries. I'm just
yeah, lots of,
and which is a little bit of a joke. It's a little bit of a joke, not just with tokusatsu shows, but just science fiction in general. There's a lot of episodes of Doctor Who that take place in quarries.
A lot of big open rocky dirt areas where no one is around and they don't have to build a set.
Yeah. I'm also noticing that KR loves to throw goons down hills. That happens a lot now too.
He throws them down hills, or there's, I don't know if it's this episode or one of the ones we talked about either previously or in our next episode, but there's a scene where the villains roll down the hill and then he leaps over them, jumps up the hill, and they roll up the hill to chase after him, which is obviously just the reverse shot of what they had just did earlier. And that is just the craziest looking, silliest looking thing, just to see these guys just right up the hill.
It's weirdly charming, I will admit, because it's kind of part of the show's style at this point. Although I will say I love and this is always one of the fun parts about a lot of shows like this. It's all the crazy flips and all of that. If you watch Power Rangers, you know all about the unnecessary backflips. I mean, Ultraman does it too. So
Yep.
they all do. But unfortunately, it seems like they decided that they needed to film some inserts after the fact with the Kamen Rider actor, and they were clearly filmed indoors.
Yeah, I saw that too. Like you can see the wallpaper in the back.
Wall. Yeah, it's a little unfortunate, but yeah. But it's still it gets the job done, and there are other shows that have had similar issues. But and this was something though I thought was interesting. The whole reason that this happens, the reason that Shocker kidnaps this girl, is because they want to experiment on her like they did Hongo.
Right.
And it's not just turn her into a mutant monster plant animal hybrid abomination. No, they want to make, they specifically said they want to make her a cyborg, just like they did to Hongo. Now he rescues her in time before that happens, although we see them test somebody else and he dies when they do it, which is a little terrifying. So they're trying. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, because I know what's coming. So I'm like, wow, they're already trying to make another Kamen Rider, I guess. And seeing that they're trying to do it with this girl, that prompted me to ask you, the resident Kamen Rider expert, has there ever been a female Kamen Rider in the franchise?
So this is kind of spoiling what's coming up in a future episode, but there's never been a main writer that's a female Kamen Rider, but there's at least one series that had a secondary writer that was a woman, a female Kamen Rider. Now, for anybody who's not aware of the Kamen Rider franchise, I'll go ahead and spoil it here. The secondary writer is a trope that continues on in this series and also in future series, where you have your Kamen Rider who is the main one for the show, and then at some point down the line they will introduce a second, sometimes third, sometimes more writer that is kind of like
looking at you, Kamen Rider Dragon Knight.
that are kind of like, they're not sidekicks, they're more like partners, and they help the main writer on his journey and his adventures and stuff. And so we've never had a main writer but there is in Kamen Rider 01, I think, is the one that has a female Kamen Rider, and I know that one. I'm trying to think if Kamen Rider Kiva or Kamen Rider Ryuki might have a female. Kamen Rider Ryuki is the one that was adapted into Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, and that one has like 30 Kamen Riders, so there very well could be a female one. I just don't remember it offhand, but I know 01 has one because she's like she's a leopard themed one, and she looks really cool. She's actually of the 01 characters, I like her Kamen Rider suit the most, which is weird because 01 actually has a really awesome looking suit too, but I think hers is better. It's nice and orange, and it's silver and orange, and it's really cool.
Ooh, I like orange. Orange is good. It's hard to make orange look good on clothing, let alone a superhero costume.
Yeah, but they do a good job with it. So I'll send you a picture of it. It's really cool looking. But yeah, that's the only female one that I know of.
Alrighty. Well, and with that, I think we can get into our awards, Travis.
Yeah, so we're going to give our awards to some of our favorite moments in these episodes. The first award we're going to look at is the Henshin Kick, which is our favorite stunt work in the episode, because these Henshin hero shows have a lot of great stunt work, and so we want to kind of highlight that in each episode. So what was your favorite stunt in these episodes?
his new move, because he keeps getting new moves.
Yeah.
The Raida Scissors, which is basically, if you're into professional wrestling, it looks like a Frankensteiner or a Hurricane Rana.
Okay.
Where which he uses to finish off the Scorpion Man.
Yeah, it's really neat. And so this starts the kind of trend. Well, we kind of did it in the last episode too, but the trend of him doing moves but just putting Rider in front of it. Rider,
because that just adds a +10 to its damage magically, which is, he's already giving a +10 on damage by saying it as he does it, because it's an anime thing.
right, exactly. My Henshin Kick award goes to the motorcycle action at the end of episode 4, or towards the end of episode 4, because when you're watching this, it's easy to see like, oh, they're obviously they're following beats, and they're doing this is all choreographed. You can really see the choreography in it. But you also have to remember whether or not this is a trained and practiced choreographed scene. He's still barreling at these guys on a 1,000-pound motorcycle in a quarry.
Yes.
So the fact that he's moving around and these guys are jumping out of the way.
Quarries.
I mean, it's so great. All of the motorcycle action, and knowing that like, no, these are all real stunts. They are not like, they didn't have computer generation, they didn't have puppets, they didn't have anything like that. This is real stunts on a motorcycle and everything. And the actor who plays Kamen Rider, who plays Takeshi, he is doing all of his own stunts in these first episodes too. So that's
I know.
Yeah.
That's commitment right there, which is, near as I can tell, that is something that honestly doesn't happen a lot in any of these Henshin hero shows. They typically, when they make them, they cast 2 actors. One they call the face actor, the secret identity.
There's a reason for that.
Frank, you are Tommy Oliver,
right?
And then they cast another actor to be in the costume to do the stunt work. And I've actually heard stories where at least a couple of the face actors have been like, "What? I don't get to wear the costume and do the fun stuff?"
Yeah. But there's a reason for that, and we'll find that out in episode 12 of this show. Why that is that they stopped doing that.
Yep. All right, so now Toku, best special effect.
Yeah, Talking Toku. So what is your best special effect for these episodes?
We've already talked about it. It's the pitcher plant man suit. So,
yeah, that suit was really that suit was really good for being the low budget that it is. That was one of the best ones that we've seen so far. And I know it's still early on, but that is one of the better ones that we see.
Mm-hmm. How about you?
Mine is the moment where Goro Hayase tears off his face to reveal that he is the Scorpion Man underneath. That scene, the special effect of the rubber face, the rubber mask pulling off, like the Mission Impossible mask that he pulls off,
yes,
is so good. It's such a good scene. I love that scene, and that special effect is done really well. Even in the 1970s, it looks better in the 1970s than in Captain America or the Falcon and the Winter Soldier when Agent 13 pulls her fake face off in that. It's like, it's not as good with the CGI. It's so cool that it's a real rubber mask that looks like a person, and then he pulls it off. It's such a great scene.
To reveal another mask, but
to reveal another mask underneath. Yeah, it's so good. So moving into our Kamenacha award, which is our favorite line of dialogue from these episodes. What is your favorite line of dialogue from these episodes?
You and I shared a brain on this one because we had the same one.
Yep.
It's from Hongo, and it's in episode 4.
Yeah. Has Shocker taken even my ability to soothe a crying child? it's such a great, and there's a few
Again,
moments.
a very Marvel thing to do.
Yeah, there's a few moments, and we'll see it as the show continues on, but where he goes to comfort someone or he goes to help a normal person, like a normal human being, and he doesn't realize his own strength because he's a cyborg, and so he inadvertently hurts them. And it's like the realization of, I'm no longer human. I can't even help someone, comfort someone without hurting them. And that just is such a powerful moment in this show.
And it's actually something that doesn't get brought up, I think, enough in a lot of superhero comics. The idea that there's that because you don't fully understand how to control your power, that you can inadvertently hurt somebody. And and then controlling that and for a lot of characters becomes integral to them as characters.
Right.
And then you have other characters who are defined by the fact that they have such huge drawbacks to their powers, like Rogue from X-Men. She literally can't touch people without killing them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So again, like you said, it is more of a Marvel thing. You don't see that in a lot of DC characters, at least not your classic DC characters.
All right, and now WTH.
What the Henshin?
The craziest moment.
All right, yeah. What is your What the Henshin award going to?
The scene where the pitcher plant man squeezes one of the henchmen to death. And it looks so weird, and I don't understand why he does it.
It's such a great, I mean, he squeezes them and the guy just becomes like a sack of potatoes in his arms. He just mushes him into just powder. It's so good.
It's so weird.
Oh, it's so good. I love it. I love it.
It's mostly weird because of the effects, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's great though. I love it. It is weird, but I like it because it's weird. But also, it does add to the ruthlessness of the Shocker, the Shocker generals that are like they are going to take out. They're going to take out anybody who's in their way, even their own henchmen, if they think that there's a chance they might spill the beans on their plans.
And what was it for you?
My What the Henshin award goes to, I mentioned it kind of a little bit earlier, but Goro Hayase's reveal as the Scorpion Man. That is such a what the H moment, because you're not expecting something like that this early in a show like this. And to have that, it's like,
what a twist!
What a twist! It really is just kind of like, because there's no hint that, because we had the eerie Spider-Man, the black the Batman, and all these other characters. You don't expect them to be characters that have ties to Takeshi yet, because they haven't really established that yet. So to suddenly throw this out there that, oh, your friend who you care about and has been a friend for a very long time is now the bad guy. And then of course to add to it when he rips off the face and reveals the Scorpion Man face underneath, it just, the whole thing is such a WTH moment, but in such a great way.
All right, and with that, Travis, it is now time to start wrapping things up, because we only have a minute to henshin it.
Yeah, so this is where we sum up all of our thoughts on these episodes in just 1 minute or less. So, Nathan, in just 1 minute, tell me, what are your final thoughts?
As I've already been hinting at, even at this point, only a couple of episodes in, I can already tell that the show is starting to improve. It's starting to find its groove. It's finding its identity as a series. The monsters and the special effects continue to get better. The true evil of Shocker is continuing to be revealed, and good lord, it gets nuttier from here, people. If you thought they were evil now, oh, you haven't seen anything yet.
That's for sure.
What yeah, and what worked at the beginning of the series continues to work here and continues to improve. I just hope that we see decidedly fewer quarries from here on out.
No promises. No, so yeah, for me, to sum it all up, this is I still really enjoy this series. It's I obviously I have preached the gospel of Kamen Rider for a while, and you can tell, like, yes, you can see the seams, and yes, it's not as polished as some other series are, especially more modern series, but there is something about this show, and definitely the characters are what makes you keep coming back for more. The character of Hongo, of Takeshi, he keeps improving and growing, and I love him so much. And Tobei, Tachibana, so much, and Ruriko, and all of them. The characters are what make you keep coming back for more, not just the fun action.
Oh, you actually came in 10 seconds under time. Good job.
Yay. Yeah, so that's going to do it for this installment of the podcast. So we want to say thank you for listening to the Henshin Men, a tokusatsu appreciation podcast. You can find links to all of our social media in the description of this episode. You can listen to more of me on the Kaiju Weekly podcast, and you can listen to more of Nathan on the Monster Island Film Vault. If you found some enjoyment from this podcast, consider giving us a 5-star rating on iTunes. And until next time, what are we going to say, Nathan?
Congratulations on learning to henshin friends and influence people.
Goodbye, everybody.